It's now time for Remember When with Uncle John. John Guess, Ouachita County's resident storyteller and local historian. Sit back now and enjoy a walk down memory lane as John recalls the days of yesteryear in his own unique way. You never know, some of it might even be true. So here's Uncle John, along with his trusty sidekick, Kelly Blair.
Back on Remember When with Uncle John. Well, this is one of my favorite days of the week. If it is hump day, that means it is Wrasteling Wednesday here on the Remember When with Uncle John show. Who you want to talk about today, Johnny?
Man, we got Dan the Beast Severn.
Oh, hey, there you go.
A legit guy.
Hey, absolutely legit, no doubt.
A legit guy, man. Born in 1958 in Coldwater, Michigan. A legit guy. Never took a steroid in his life. Never took a performance-enhancing drug in his life. You met him on the street, he looked just like an average, he looked like a lumberjack.
Oh, yeah.
But the guy's legit.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to run into him in a dark alley if he was mad at me.
He was a leading pioneer in, the UFC deal.
Absolutely.
MMA stuff, he was one of the first ones. And he's the only UFC Triple Crown champ in history.
Yep.
And, the guy, I'm telling you, you could look at him and tell he was all business.
As we like to say on this show, he was bona fide. He was a bona fide heavyweight champion, a bad mamma jamma from the get-go, and then he just kind of did wrestling on the side. Picked up a little side hustle on.
He was the only man in history to be included in the George Tragus Luthez Hall of Fame 3 times.
Oh, yeah, and I remember in the mid-'90s, when that UFC stuff was really getting big and the MMA stuff was really getting big and everything, he was absolutely one of the more well-respected, well-known guys out there. Him and Kim Shamrock, I think, were the ones that really got in the mainstream media, and they managed to cash a lot of nice checks out of the WWE by bringing some of that to the wrestling world.
He's a 2-time NWA champ, and he is the only man to compete in the WWF and the UFC at the same time, and the only man to compete with the UFC, to hold the UFC belt and the NWA belt at the same time.
That had to be pretty interesting.
And I mean the guy was back and forth, But he looked like he belonged in the old West.
Yes.
That mustache and everything, He looked like he should have been at the OK Corral.
Yeah. If he'd have worked on it just a smidge more, that could have been a handlebar mustache all the way around.
But I've seen several interviews with him. Just a humble guy, a very courteous person. Doesn't act like he's got a bad attitude about anything. But one of those guys that could just flat mess you up if you messed with him.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Now I do think it's important to mention. He never got. He was NWA champion. The NWA was unfortunately just a shell of itself by the time he was coming through. I do think he gave them some legitimacy. But in the WWE, where so much of it is about style and all polish and all that kind of stuff, just couldn't quite do the promos to get himself over quite as well. Now. Ken Shamrock couldn't talk his way out of a paper sack either, but Ken Shamrock had the act. He would go nuts. He would, kill everybody in the ring and all that kind of stuff. Dan Severn never could just quite get over like that, but again, legitimate now. There's a reason there was a reason they called him the Beast. I mean, he earned that nickname.
I read a quote by Harley Race, said he was about 40 years too late.
Yeah.
And, there's a story about, when the Clique was big, with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall and
Triple H.
Yeah, and Shawn Michaels and all them, Kevin Nash smarted off to him in the dressing room. And, Kevin Nash is a tall guy.
Yeah, he's real tall.
And they said, that he just stopped and looked up at him and gave him that look. And it got real quiet. And nobody else said a word. He walked on and did it, walked on about his business. And nobody smarted off to him again,
No.
He was not somebody you wanted to tangle with. But, I mean, he's one of those guys, too, you could sit. I just have a feeling you could sit and have a beer with.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He could talk about anything, I read a great story about Superstar Graham. When he was young, he actually worked at a place that delivered bodybuilding equipment.
Okay.
And he delivered some equipment to Billy Graham's apartment in Arizona. Took it to his apartment, and set it up for him. And, of course, Billy Graham was Superstar Billy Graham, And he told Dan Severn, he says, man, you got the look, without the body. You got the look.
Right.
You ought to think about it. And that was one of his first inclinations that he ought to get into wrestling.
Absolutely. There you go. And, hey, if you can get superstar Billy Graham's endorsement, that's not bad whatsoever right there.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
One of the all-time greats. Hey, that's going to wrap it up on Remember When with Uncle John here for today. But we do want to thank some of our great sponsors, including ProMed Ambulance Service.
Give them a call, 1-800-634-0436, and get signed up.
Don't forget about our friends over at the Prescott Raceway, 5121 Highway 53 East in Prescott. Everybody's seen the Prescott Raceway as they're going into town there. Give them a call at 887-0336 or check them out on PrescottRaceway.net or their Facebook page. They have got some huge races coming up here at the end of June, 1st of July, folks. You don't want to miss out on this when those street racers come in from out of town. Big events coming up. Also, Sherwin-Williams House Paint, another one of our great sponsors. 315 Jefferson Street. Get by there and let Greg Bradshaw and his staff point you in the right direction, get you exactly what you need for your home project. 836-8125. I guess we'll see you tomorrow, John.
See you tomorrow, Kelly.
You've been listening to Remember When with Uncle John on Y95. This broadcast can be heard each weekday morning at 6:45 on South Arkansas's favorite station, Y95.